A US federal court has ruled that President Donald Trump overstepped his authority by imposing global tariffs.
The Constitution gives the power to tariff to Congress, not to the president.
Federal court has just blocked the bulk of President Trump's sweeping global tariffs from going into effect.
Donald Trump just got hit with a legal bombshell, and it could blow up his entire trade war strategy. A powerful US court has ruled that all of Trump's tariffs were illegal, saying he violated the Constitution by bypassing Congress and using fake emergency powers to rewrite trade law. This is huge. The judges didn't just strike down one policy. They tore the whole thing down. The court made it crystal clear. The president cannot act like a king when it comes to international trade. Worse for Trump, the court ordered the tariffs to be completely removed and said the government might have to refund billions collected from businesses across the country. That's right. A flood of lawsuits is now on the way, and small businesses are lining up to get their money back. This wasn't a slap on the wrist. This was a legal earthquake, and it may open the door to even more challenges against Trump's past executive orders. And if this case reaches the Supreme Court, Trump's entire presidency could be put on trial. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and smash that like button. First, let's talk about the court's judgment. To everyone's surprise, a federal court in Manhattan, the U.S. Court of International Trade, has ruled against the massive tariffs introduced by President Donald Trump. This ruling was made by a panel of 3 judges who all agreed, even though they were appointed by presidents from different political parties. The judges declared that Trump went beyond his legal powers when he used emergency laws to impose tariffs on goods from other countries. This court usually handles trade-related issues quietly, but this time, it has taken center stage by standing up for the Constitution. The judges made it clear that only Congress, the branch of government made up of elected lawmakers, has the authority to regulate international trade. The president cannot do it alone by simply calling it an emergency.
And the core of the ruling is this. Typically, it is Congress that controls the tariff power. However, Congress can pass laws giving that power to the president in certain instances.
The court focused closely on a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. This law was passed in 1977 and was meant to give the president some power during serious national emergencies. Trump used this law to put tariffs on countries like China and Canada, saying it was necessary to protect the U.S. economy. But the court said the situations Trump mentioned, like trade deficits or the flow of fentanyl, did not count as real emergencies. The law only allows action in situations that are truly unusual and dangerous, and the judges said that standard wasn't met. This ruling could set a new limit on how presidents use emergency powers. It may force future presidents to work more with Congress instead of acting alone when creating big economic policies. Lawmakers may now take steps to update or clarify laws like IEEPA, making sure no president can bypass them again. If Congress becomes more active in this area, it could help restore balance between the 3 branches of government. But don't be fooled. This fight is far from over. Trump still holds powerful cards in his deck. One key weapon is Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, a little-known but dangerous tool that lets the president slap tariffs on specific industries like steel and aluminum, all under the guise of national security.
The idea at the moment might be that they'd use the Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, which is what they've got the iron and steel tariffs under at the moment. So that act allows them to say on national security grounds, these sectors are able to have tariffs imposed on them.
This means Trump can switch from broad, countrywide tariffs to targeted sector-specific taxes that may evade the court's limits. Trump trade advisor Peter Navarro made the administration's intentions clear. You can assume that even if we lose in court, we will do it another way. This shift could bring even more chaos to global trade. Instead of clear, predictable rules, companies will face patchy tariffs on certain goods, making business planning a nightmare. Countries affected won't know if they're next, creating fear and uncertainty worldwide. What looks like a setback could just be the calm before a bigger storm. If Trump uses Section 232 aggressively, we may see a fragmented trade landscape where tariffs hit some products but not others. hurting both American businesses and their overseas partners. The legal fight now threatens to drag on for months or years, but the bigger problem is the uncertainty and disruption that Trump's tactics unleash. As a matter of fact, it was small businesses that took the Trump administration to court in the first place, so this could just be the beginning of many legal battles to come.
Where the small businesses and states went to this court and said, look, we need you to block these tariffs because the president doesn't have the power to do this.
Let's break down what this ruling addresses even further. The court specifically ordered a stop to some of the most well-known tariffs from the Trump era. First is the Liberation Day tariffs, which added a 10% tax to many imported goods, and even higher tariffs on items from countries like China and those in the European Union. Also, extra tariffs on products from Mexico, Canada, and China are being stopped. These were said to be a way to fight the problem of fentanyl entering the U.S. These tariffs have now been paused. This means businesses that paid billions of dollars because of these tariffs might be able to get their money back. Countries that were affected might also file claims to recover the money lost. The problem here is, this could lead to even more legal and diplomatic action, as companies and governments around the world seek justice for what they believe were unfair trade rules. The financial markets reacted very quickly to the court's decision. Major stock indexes like the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ went up. Investors were happy because they saw this ruling as a sign that trade rules would now be more stable and predictable. Many economists have warned that tariffs like these can backfire by raising costs for everyday consumers and leading to retaliation from other countries. This decision by the court might help push the U.S. and its trade partners toward fairer and more stable relationships. While this is exciting news for businesses and consumers, the danger is far from being over. The Trump administration is not giving up. It has filed an appeal to overturn the court's ruling. While the legal battle continues, a higher court has temporarily allowed the tariffs to remain in place. Trump's team argues that ending the tariffs now could hurt national security and weaken America's leverage in trade talks. But this case is now about more than just trade. It's about testing the outer limits of presidential power, and the outcome may reset the rules for future administrations. And guess what? The Trump administration just won a major victory at the appeals court.
We continue to follow breaking news out of Washington. A federal appeals court has issued a temporary stay, overruling last night's lower court ruling, which blocked the enforcement of President Trump's sweeping reciprocal tariffs on most U.S. trade allies.
This is a major win for Trump because these tariffs are a key part of his plan to fix what he sees as unfair trade deals. The administration even said they would take the case all the way to the Supreme Court if this hold wasn't granted. So, for now, Trump can keep pushing his tariffs on products like steel, aluminum, and others that target countries trading with the U.S. The White House was very clear that they don't agree with the lower court's decision. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said it's wrong for judges who are not elected to get involved in the president's choices about trade. This shows how strongly the White House wants to keep control over trade decisions. The next legal deadlines are approaching fast. Plaintiffs must respond by June 5th, and the government's reply is due by June 9th. Meanwhile, some tariffs are under a 90-day pause, set to expire in early July, which adds even more uncertainty. President Trump is also expected to speak about tariffs and trade at the upcoming G7 meeting, keeping the issue front and center. For now, tariffs remain a major part of U.S. trade policy, but that could change in a matter of weeks. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent recently spoke with Fox News host Brett Baier about the lawsuits trying to stop President Trump's tariffs. Bessent was very clear. He believes the court should not interfere with the tariffs. He said the Senate had a chance to stop them but did not.
It seems highly inappropriate for the judiciary to wade in here when the Senate had the opportunity to override the president.
From his point of view, the president has the power to make trade rules, and if courts stop the tariffs, it could mess up the government's plans to get better deals for American workers and businesses. Tariffs have become very important for the government's finances. Right now, the government uses money from tariffs to help pay bills. If the courts stop this, the government could lose a lot of money, which would make the budget problems worse. Bessent also talked about how trade talks with other countries are very complicated. He called it three-dimensional chess, meaning there are many parts to think about all at once. Even with the court problems, countries like Japan and Europe are still willing to make deals with the US. For example, when the US threatened a 50% tariff on the European Union, the EU quickly agreed to talk. But China is a harder problem. Talks with China are stuck, and Bessent said maybe the presidents of the two countries need to speak directly to fix things. This makes us wonder, are we close to a deal, or are we heading for a bigger fight? The conversation then moved to the government's money problems, like the big deficit. The deficit is when the government spends more money than it earns. Many experts say this is a serious problem, but Bessent disagrees with them. He said that even if official reports don't show it, the money collected from tariffs is helping the government a lot. He believes the deficit is actually getting smaller every year because of this extra income.
I believe that the deficit will be smaller this year than it was last year. It will be smaller next year than it is this year.
Bessent reminded viewers that when this administration started, the US already had the largest deficit it had ever had during peacetime. Fixing this problem won't happen quickly or easily. But he expects that by 2028, the government will be in better shape. He thinks this will happen because the government is controlling spending and the economy is growing. However, many experts wonder if just growing the economy is enough to fix such a big debt problem. They say the government might need to make tough decisions about taxes and spending. This makes us ask, can the economy grow fast enough to solve the money problems? Bessent also talked about artificial intelligence and how it affects the economy. He said AI is already helping the economy grow by about 1%. He compared this to the 1990s when computers first started to help businesses be more productive. But it took years before big improvements showed up. Now AI is growing quickly, and Bessent believes it could soon give the US a big boost in productivity. But AI also brings risks, from job losses to rising inequality. And it's not just about economics anymore. Artificial intelligence is fast becoming a new battlefield in global politics and trade. The AI boom is also creating a new race between countries. The US is leading now, but countries like China are working very hard to catch up. This competition could change trade rules and even cause new conflicts. While AI offers big chances to grow, it could also cause problems for jobs in the global economy. The government's budget looks better in hopeful predictions, but the real situation might be harder. AI brings hope, but also new dangers. People who support Trump say strong action was needed to fix unfair trade. But critics say using emergency powers like this sets a dangerous example. It avoids public debate and gives too much power to the president. With the tariffs temporarily back in place while the appeal is heard, businesses and investors are stuck in a state of confusion. They don't know whether to plan for the tariffs staying or going away again. This legal uncertainty makes it harder for companies to make long-term decisions. It also highlights the need for clearer, more reliable trade policies. Policies that aren't constantly changing because of politics or emergency powers. As America plays legal tug-of-war with its own economy, the world is watching. Will courts finally rein in executive power? Or will Trump rewrite the rulebook once again? One thing's certain, this story is far from over. So make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us as we break down every twist in this global economic showdown.